Greetings, I'm Professor Hobo, and welcome to another HOBOTECH News product review. Now, if you're looking for a ridiculously cheap micro solar power station with a ridiculously long battery life at a ridiculously low price, you've come to the right place. Meet the GOLABS 300 watt-hour lithium iron phosphate solar generator. Now, is it any good? Or is it just a fancy paperweight? Let's find out. GOLABS 300 sports a 299 watt-hour lithium iron phosphate battery rated at 2,000 cycles to 80%. That's a full charge and discharge cycle every day for nearly 6 years. Under average use, you can expect the battery in this to last you at least 10 years. As for the size of the GOLABS, we'll put that at the bottom of the screen, and of course, like all solar generators, I decided to weigh this myself, and here are those results. As for build quality, it is all ABS plastic with cute little rubberized feet. You can get this in 2 different colors. They decided to send me the black one. Now, as for the display, it does have a higher quality display than you'd expect at this price point. It shows the actual percentage charge of the battery, along with the wattage used, and as well as time to empty. As for the inverter, this has a 300 watt pure sine inverter with 2 15 amp outlets. This does have an MPPT controller built in, and that takes us to how many ways you can charge this. This actually can be charged by 4 different ways. One is by the AC Wall Wart. Now, this is literally a Wall Wart because this plugs right into the wall. There's no intermediate brick. This is a very low power AC charger, and you can expect to actually charge this from dead in about 6 hours using the AC wall charger. Now, as for 12 volt vehicle charging, you can of course charge this from 12 volt vehicle. It takes approximately 6 hours. And they also include an MC4 to 5.5 millimeter adapter, which allows you to charge this with a solar panel in approximately 6 hours. Are you seeing a trend here? Now, the 4th and final way to charge is actually pretty cool for this little guy, and that is through this bi-directional USB power delivery port. You can actually send up to 60 watts into this through the power delivery port because it is bi-directional. It allows power to come out and allows power to go in. Take a wild guess as to how long it takes to charge through the 60 watt power delivery port. You win a nickel for today. Yes, approximately 6 hours. So all the different ways a charge can be done in one hand. So I have every adapter that comes with the GOLABS in one hand. All of them charge about the same speed, around 6 hours. So there's no trick in this model to speed up the charging. It is what it is. Now, the GOLABS does offer 3 voltage stable 12 volt output ports. Now, notice I didn't say 12 volt regulated. There is no regulation circuitry in this, but because it is lithium iron phosphate, because of the way the battery chemistry is, it actually holds the voltage a lot higher through the whole state of discharge of the battery. So as you get down to near empty, it drops to the low 12 voltage range. Right before it dies, the last few seconds, it'll drop down into the 11s, but that's not really important because you're pretty much going to be using the top 90% of the capacity of this almost all the time. So that means it has no problem running 12 volt compressor refrigerators, CPAP machines, or anything else out of this 12 volt port. Note that the cigarette lighter output on this is rated at 10 amps, so you can pull up to 120 watts out of this without much of a problem. And it does include 2 5.5 millimeter outputs, also rated at 10 amps. Not too shabby. Now note, because there is no 12 volt regulation circuitry built into this, there's no efficiency loss when you use the 12 volt, unlike many other solar generators that have a regulation circuit in it that takes the voltage of whatever the battery has to 12 volts. So we expect this is going to be pretty efficient at powering 12 volt devices. As for USB ports, you have a pair of 18 watt quick charge USB-A ports. You have a single USB-C 30 watt power delivery port and a single USB-C 60 watt bi-directional power delivery port. Major kudos goes to GOLABS for finally ditching those old school 5 volt USB-A ports that people used to use back in the 90s. With 4 modern USB ports on this, that means you can charge multiple modern devices pretty quickly, and that even includes a MacBook as long as it supports the 60 watt power delivery charging. Now, the best feature of all, and the #1 reason you should run out and buy one of these right now, is the ultra super useful lantern on the back. It actually has 3 modes. So you can actually SOS down that plane if you're stranded on that deserted island and you're looking for help, or if you just want to have a seizure. As for the warranty on the GOLABS, it does only offer a 1-year warranty. However, it's a 1-year free replacement warranty with lifetime tech service. This means if you're unhappy with the product for any reason, GOLABS will replace it without even requiring you to send back the defective model first. All you have to do is contact them via their Amazon email or their official support email. And of course, I took the GOLABS into my secret laboratory where I performed all kinds of crazy experiments on it. And that includes a double-fisted bang, bang battery capacity test. As you can see, the results of the DC battery capacity test was 260 watt hours out of 299, or an impressive 87%. As for the AC battery capacity test, that scored a pretty good 250 watt hours out of 299, or 84%. Now these numbers are slightly above average for the solar generator market. They're not fantastic, they're not bad, but they are above average. We're going to now do the max charge rate test, which is going to show you how much solar you can put into the GOLABS. 12.8 volts, we have 36 watts coming in. At 13.6 standard automotive voltage, 39 watts. Bottom end of the solar panel range, 18 volts, we're pulling in 51 watts. And the GOLABS does have an upper voltage limit of 24 volts. We're at 22.5 and we're pulling in 64 watts. Now at the top end of a solar panel, you may reach as high as 24 volts. And you see if you get anywhere near close to that, it arrows out. See if we can do 23 volts. Nope. So much for having a 24 volt upper limit. So 22.6 seems to be about as high as I can push it. And then you can get the 64 watts into the GOLABS. So what does this mean? This means you can't run a really big solar panel to charge the GOLABS, because the upper limit's 22.6 volts. And that makes sense because the wattage limit on this is 64 watts anyway. So even with a 100 watt panel, you're gonna max it out pretty easily. So that's gonna be the recommendation. Just stick with the 100 watt panel that they recommend. As for the max charge rate test, we're able to pump 64 watts maximum into the GOLABS from 10 volts to 22.6 volts. It does seem to increase linear with the voltage. So if you can pump 22 volts inside, you'll get that magic 64 watt charging. So anytime one of these models include a 60 watt or 100 watt bi-directional port, I of course check to see can you simultaneously charge it from the port and from the DC at the same time. Unfortunately, anytime you try to charge from this input, it actually shuts off the 60 watt power delivery. So you can't even power anything or charge anything from that port while you're charging the device. That seems kind of odd. So there is no simultaneous charging support on this device. Now your next question is going to be, well, heck, if it doesn't support that, does it support pass-through? So here we are again. We have our simulated solar panel, AC wall charger, whatever you want to call it, because it's all going to the same place. So I'm going to go ahead and start charging it, and we're going to see if the inverter comes on. Okay, AC inverter's on. And it says DC is on. Just to prove DC is on, we're pulling 8 amps from the 12 volt cigarette lighter port. Do note on the GOLABS there are 2 power delivery ports. There's one bi-directional 60 watt port, and then there's one output only 30 watt port. And so I have my tester plugged into the 30 watt this time. You can see it beeped, it came on. So now I go ahead and plugged in my charger. There's no change. It looks like the 30 watt power delivery port still does work while you're charging the device. So it's only the 60 watt power delivery port that doesn't work. I have a 100 watt power delivery charger with a gold cable, so this is absolutely gonna work if it supports it. So I plug it in. Now remember, I'm running a 100 watt charger, so it should easily max out this 60 watt port, and 56 watts is what you can expect with losses. That being said, I'm not going to spend any more time on the USB here because these are standard quick charge ports, and we know that the 60 watt power delivery port handles 60 watts from the previous test. Since a lot of these things make noise while they're charging, I of course tested to see if it makes noise while it's plugged in. It does not. Fan does not kick on whatsoever, no matter what method you use to charge this. So that's good. It's silent running when it comes to charging. So let's go ahead and do the DC output rate check. This cigarette lighter adapter is good for 10 amps. Let's see if we can pull 10 amps. So there you have it, 10 amps. Now if I try to exceed, it won't let me. So it is hard limited to 10 amps. So what about the 5525 ports? So they're good for 115 watts. And since this uses lithium iron phosphate technology, regulation circuitry is not required. This does start at 13.2 volts when the battery's fully charged, and it drops down into the low 12s once the battery's near empty. So you don't really need the regulation circuitry on this. While it's not a regulated output, it does kind of act like a regulated output. You'll have no problems running refrigerators, CPAP machines, or anything else that needs a stable 12 volt source. Pure sine wave check. We have 115 volts at 60 hertz under no load. Let's go ahead and add some solar degenerator to that. Now because this is a 300 watt inverter, I need to go very, very gently on this one or it will smoke, I have a feeling. So we're gonna go with no heat on low. Let's see. Okay, so we're pulling 100 watts, which is about a third of its capacity. The sine wave still looks fine. We're still at 115 volts. Now the part that always makes me nervous. We're gonna go ahead and apply some heat and see if we can get up to 300 watts without causing any damage. So here we go. Play the dramatic music. I couldn't add any heat at all. Went straight to air out. Now because the inverter in this is so tiny, I can't use this to test it. I'm gonna have to find something else that's much lower power. Okay, I found the perfect safe way to push the GOLABS 300 watt inverter to its limit. And I'm doing that by charging this old BLUETTI EB150 using my variable voltage charger. So I'm doing is I'm using the inverter to run my charger. Now the BLUETTI only starts charging at 16 volts. So we'll go from 16 volts, we'll increase the voltage, which will increase the wattage, and we'll see the wattage appear over here. We should be able to do 300 watts, no problem. We're going to push it and see how far we can push it. We're going to keep an eye on the sine wave and the voltage coming out and see if everything's a-okay. Because these little inverters, I can't tell you how many of these I smoked. I don't want to smoke this one, so we're going to take this one. We're going to do this the easy way.
We can do this the easy way or the hard way.
The easy way.
Now what is very interesting at 200 watts, you can see the sine wave tops are flattening. That means this inverter is already not liking the load, but the voltage is still stable and so is the frequency. Let's go ahead and keep increasing the wattage. Oh, it errored out before we got to 300. Let's stop at 250. Okay, we're at 250 and it's holding 250. That's good, and I'm gonna try to increase this very slowly. You see the tops of those sine waves are very flat. We still got 115 volts though, so that's good. We're at 270. You see, we conked out around 280. So even though this states it has a 300 watt inverter, we can't push it beyond 285 no matter how careful I am. And if I'm a little less careful, it kind of kicks out around 275, 280. So I'd call this a 275 watt inverter, not a 300. Now that's not going to make any difference to anybody using this product because there aren't that many AC appliances that run around 300 watts. They're either going to be very small watts, like under 100, 150, or they're going to be like way up there, 500, 600, or 1,000. So I don't think this will make any difference to the end user, but we're testing it anyway to see their claims. So what I need to do now is do an overheating test. So we're going to go ahead and run this at its maximum rate. We're going to try to stick around 275 watts. That's all it can take. Run it for 5 minutes and see what happens. So let's go ahead and start the timer. There we have it. We're going to keep it around 270, 280 since that's its limit. All right, we made it 2 minutes before it shut down. So let's go ahead and lower the amount of power and see if it can take it a little bit longer. Okay, we're going to keep it around 250, 260 and see if it can last 5 minutes. So there you have it, no problem, running 250 watts for over 5 minutes. And there's no excessive heat of any kind. It's 84 degrees on the top, and it's putting out somewhere around 100-degree heat on the one side, 79 degrees on the other, so no problems with heating. Now, while the inverter is nice and hot and the fan's running, I'm gonna go ahead and do a decibel test. The fan is very, very quiet. It's kind of really hard to hear, but we'll want to get a measurement of it anyway. So there you have it, about 50 decibels. It's pretty quiet, and the inverter fan doesn't stand for long at all. As soon as you remove the load, it pretty much stops. It made it difficult for me to actually capture it for more than a second or so. Okay, so I have this new test, and I had a few requests to do something like this because a lot of people want to run amplifiers or ham radios. They want to know what kind of interference that the inverters put off. So right now I have this brand new PV amp hooked up to this EcoFlow river. I'm going to put my microphone up to the speaker, and it's all the way up. Every setting, every dial is cranked up on this amp, but I don't have anything plugged into it. Listen to the interference that you get from the EcoFlow inverter. Now all you hear is basically static. That's it. You don't hear any buzzes or any hums. Let's go ahead and plug this amp into the GOLABS inverter and see what kind of noise difference we have. Okay, now I have the amp plugged into the GOLABS. Significant difference in noise. Listen. So yes, that means if you're going to use a GOLABS for a ham radio or an amplifier, you can expect to hear this. That's going to be unacceptable to most of you. So if you're not running an amp or a ham radio, it's not a problem, but this gives you an idea of the interference coming from this inverter. Now for the final test, the GOLABS. I have heard, and I've actually seen some photographs of the battery inside this. They claim this is lithium iron phosphate, but I've seen photos that show that these are actually lithium ion. So there's only one way to find out. Take it apart and hope I can put it back together for the rest of the review. Fast forward several days later, I finally got the special Torx screwdrivers required to get the GOLABS taken apart. I was wondering what they were hiding inside. They had to use these special Torx screws. I had to actually hacksaw down my screwdriver to make it long enough to fit in there. I had to know what was inside. So now I understand the controversy, because it actually does say one thing on the outside of the battery pack, but the cells themselves tell a different story. Okay, so here's the battery pack. I can't get it out of there, but I was able to find out by looking at the numbers here on the side. You can barely see those with the camera, but I was able to find the numbers in there and look up these actual cells online. So I was able to find out actually what kind of cells are in here. Let me show you the controversy up close. Okay, the controversy was, it says right here, smart lithium ion battery. It does not mention lithium iron phosphate or LFP. This basically was going around on the internet. People were saying the battery that was inside this was actually lithium ion when they advertise it as a lithium iron phosphate. And these are the cells right here. This is exactly what the cells look like. And it says right here, LiFePO4 battery cell. And it tells you about lithium iron phosphate and the advantages. So these cells are absolutely lithium iron phosphate. They're rated at 2,000 cycles. So if you're curious what the inverter looks like, this is the inverter. It says DLNRG DLSD-S300W. So it almost sounds like it's an off-the-shelf product that they put in. But it's a tiny little 300-watt inverter. It's got some MOSFETs there on the side. But it's got a fan coming in, a fan blowing out, and it actually has this fan here which goes on the battery. So it has a fan on the battery, which is pretty cool. It's certainly a very compact design. I Had some difficulty in taking it apart. I'm probably going to have even more difficulty putting it back together. This is why I don't like to do teardowns, because I have to do them before I finish the rest of the video. That means I have to get this back together and working in order to finish the review. So I don't like taking these apart, but I had to because of the controversy of this battery. Now the rest of this is just circuit boards and microprocessors. There's really nothing to see here. So that's it for the teardown. Wish me luck to get it back together. So what do I like about the GOLABS? It's the seriously ridiculous bang for the buck that I like the best. You literally get everything you need in a micro solar generator at a fantastic price. You get the 10-year LFP battery, check. You get the 60-watt bi-directional power delivery port, check. You get a voltage stable 12-volt output at full 10 amps, check. You get a pair of quick charge ports, a great display, and a pure sine inverter that'll run 250 watts all day long. Did I also mention that this thing's virtually silent? You really only hear it if you're pushing it to its limit, which makes this great for RV and van life or any place that you want to be quiet. It literally checks all the boxes that would have made it the perfect micro solar generator, except for one thing. And that brings me to the main dislike of the GOLABS. So let's go ahead and talk about that elephant in the room. It's the slow as molasses charging from any source. Since this thing is hard capped at 64 watts, there's no way to charge it any faster than 6 hours from dead to full. While this isn't the end of the world, it's also not 2019. This is actually JACKERY 240 territory. When JACKERY 240 came out back in 2019, that thing charged super slow. Everybody complained about it. Eventually, JACKERY upped their game and included faster charging in their newer models. This is out in 2021, and it's still charging in 6 hours. So you're not going to win any races charging this. Here's the thing though, if you're not really in a hurry, it's not going to bother you, and it's still quite able to fully charge in the wintertime with 6 hours of solar just about anywhere in the country. All you're going to need is a 100 to 120 watt solar panel and clear sky conditions, and it shouldn't be a problem. Also kind of silly is the fact that the 60 watt power delivery port actually shuts off while you charge it from AC, 12 volt, or solar. So this means while you're waiting for that GOLABS to charge up, you can't use this port at all. Why, oh why, GOLABS, did you do this? Is it because the 60 watt power delivery port can actually pull more out of the battery than you could put into it? Who knows? Now finally, I'm not that impressed with the overheating at high loads. I know virtually no one will run into problems with this because really how many appliances out there run between 250 and 300 watts anyway? As long as you run it at 250 or less, it's non-problematic. But it means you're really not getting a 300 watt inverter. Kind of like a 285 watt inverter that's happy playing around 250 watts. Like I said, it's really not an issue and definitely not a reason to skip this model unless you really, really need a 300 watt inverter. In that case, get yourself a JACKERY 300. Product price. Fortunately, I was actually able to get GOLABS to extend their $100 off coupon to viewers of HOBOTECH for a limited time. Yay! Now, I'm not sure how long they're going to provide this coupon, but as long as they do, the GOLABS 300 is an insane buy for only $199. Unfortunately, this product is only currently available on Amazon, so you have no option but to feed the beast. As for competition, in the 300 watt micro generator market, the offerings are virtually unlimited, but this one stabs right into the heart of the JACKERY 300. While the JACKERY does run circles around this with charging speed and does have a better inverter, the GOLABS beats it in just about every other category. The JACKERY 300's inverter is a lot stronger and higher quality, but the JACKERY's also $100 more. Now you can actually compare this to other micro LFP generators on the market, such as the Energizer 240 or the ADU 300, but the GOLABS simply crushes them on price and features. It's the new no-brainer buy of 2021. Heck, at this price, it might make a great Father's Day gift, but I would order it now and not wait in case that coupon disappears. So who are these micro generators aimed at? Well, it's only to the ultra-portable crowd that want to charge batteries, phones, tablets, and laptops mostly. You're not going to brew coffee with this. You're not going to run your 40-foot diesel motorhome on it. You're certainly not going to run your air conditioner or put your kids through college with it. If you want to charge your e-bike or your laptop or run a CPAP machine, this will do it on the cheap. Just run it within its limits and it will last you many, many years. As for recommended solar, GOLABS does recommend a 100-watt panel, and so do I. In fact, bumping that up to 120 watts might net you that magic 64-watt charge if you really need to go there. Any solar panel is going to do from any manufacturer. I have a vast selection available on hobotech.tv/Amazon under solar kits. If you're interested in the GOLABS 300 and recommended solar panels, the link is in the description below, so go down there, click on it. It takes you to the product on Amazon where you can pick it up. There's also a link to my recommended product page, which will take you to those solar panels that I was talking about. Thanks for watching. If you learned something today, don't forget to give me that thumbs up below. And if you're not a subscriber already, you know what to do. That's it for now. Till next time.
Odin commands you to like and subscribe, and clean my litter box.
And if you're looking for something a lot bigger than the GOLABS, perhaps the Bluetti EB150 or some kind of large other solar generator, Bluetti does have a huge summer sale going on for the entire planet. So if you live in Europe, you live in Canada, United States, you can actually get a lot of great deals on Bluetti products. I have a link in the description below that'll take you to the sales page. I can put that piece in there from Back to the Future where he clubs him over the head.
With that coat, you could do a bunch of Back to the Future.
Yeah, I could do a bunch of references with the lab coat.
Yeah.
I want to get like a dock wig, you know, just like I could just do my hair like that. If I put baby powder in it and just went like that, it would be like the giant fro like from Back to the Future, but it'd be messy. I'd rather just have a wig, like a stupid Doc Brown wig I could just put on for a scene. I should look for one because that would be pretty funny.
RV Golf Guy, Ant Medic Audio Repair, Andrew, Von Rupp, Richard Cardano.